habt ihr vielleicht auch alle mitbekommen, Anfang dieses Jahres.
Es geht weiter. Amsterdam, Barcelona, Brüssel, Budapest, Berlin.
The housing situation in Berlin has gone worse and worse every year. The big companies that own lots of flats in Berlin, they don't care about us. They don't care about us at all. They care only about their profits. So we have to stand up here, we have to stand up against them to make sure that also the politicians, they hear us and they implement the necessary steps to help us to live here for rent that we can actually pay for. That we don't have to move to the outskirts of Berlin, and now even at the outskirts of Berlin, we can't live there anymore. We have to move out of Berlin. So where are we going to live?
The work that I've been doing for the last 20 years in Berlin was possible because of this relaxed nature. I could take chances with my own work. I didn't have to make so much money. I could experiment. But I see that people in the last 5 years, especially young people, don't even come to Berlin because they can't find the affordable place to live. So I see this in a very direct, personal way, that the work that I was able to do and develop is not accessible to young people. So that's telling me something. That the young generation, the new generation, doesn't have the same possibilities, is discouraged from taking chances, risks, and in a sense I would say discouraged from even taking steps to realize dreams.
The situation of the income in Berlin is really low, but the prices are getting higher. If you see those both graphs, so the income does not really move a lot. The people getting the same as they got years ago, but they have to pay way more for the rent.
People got relaxed in Berlin, like myself, in the last decades. It was a relatively easy place and relatively comfortable, and some people describe Berlin as having been a playground, a place to enjoy life, a place to go to parties, a place to enjoy life and find a nice place to live and not have to work too much. But Berlin is, these so-called problems of the world are catching up with us in Berlin. You know, Berlin is catching up to London, New York, Barcelona, Paris, high rents, stressed people.
Yeah, that's great. Then now we'll put the silverfish in focus. Perfect.
Yeah, that's good, isn't it?
That's it. Can we just leave it a little bit?
There's a lot of people, they kicked them out of our building. They kicked them, they were frightened. They phoned them, they terrorized them, they proposed them money to get out. And some people, old people, they are frightened, they got out.
No one is looking for another apartment if you not really have to do. Because everyone knows that it will be worse to find something new.
I know a lot of people who had to move on and to find a new place to stay, and it's becoming frustrating because you live here, you work here, and there's no you can just wait like 2 or 3 years maybe searching, and you don't find anything. So
it's difficult to find something, and it will be more expensive. So everyone who is more or less happy with the situation he is in stays like this.
I've been in Berlin filming the very real housing crisis that they have here, like in other major cities around the world. And today, while filming shipping containers used as emergency housing, I've just stumbled across this abandoned building. It looks like something from the future that was built in the past, And something tells me this chance encounter is going to change the whole direction of this documentary.
Right now we need houses, we need apartments, more than we can build. And everything is about, we have to build houses as soon as possible. It's not even possible to talk really about quality of housing because we need it right now.
We have to think in another way, you know? It is not, we can't go back to a situation that is, we solved all this, so we have to think in a new way, but I don't know what way that should be. I really don't know.
Berlin is making a transition in these last couple of decades from being a city where we have on average had time to relax, enjoy life, work in a garden, start a new project, maybe go to a demonstration. And we're transitioning into a population that is stressed, that either doesn't have time or doesn't think it has time, meaning people are withdrawing. People are working to pay the rent, people are afraid, people are in a sense being privatized. Yeah. So it's a dangerous path if we're not conscious of it, and if we can't turn it around. And so I think it's right to look at housing and the cost of housing as a foundation for that. If the housing on average is demanding too much rent, which demands us to work too much to pay for it, then it definitely has a huge impact on how we're living and who we are.
Hi, is that Matthias Ludwig?
Yeah, I'm Matthias Ludwig. I'm on the phone.
Great. My name is Rory Ryder. We've been filming in Berlin, the street protests, and we've been looking into the housing situation. And on our journey filming, I came across a very interesting building, which I believe you wrote about.
Is it about the REA?
Yes, that's right.
So where did you find it?
Well, we were filming shipping containers in Berlin, which were used for refugees. And in fact, they're all over Berlin. We've seen them in 3 or 4 different locations. And we just walked across the road, and next to the shipping containers was this building, which is all abandoned. But then I found out that you did this brochure.
Yes, that's right. We did that catalogue some time ago. That's right. Yeah, they seem to be somehow forgotten, and they have been quite popular during the GDR time. And now it seems that people have forgotten them.
If it's okay with you, would it be okay if I bring a camera and interview you?
Yes, you are welcome to see me here in Wismar, and we can discuss about the building.
So can you remember all the things that the REH was used for and what they were used for?
The REH has been used basically for almost anything you can imagine. Everything basically what was missing, they were used for, like shops, for example, like ice cream shops, ice cream coffees, even churches. They have been used for hostels, many things, for libraries, for example. Basically everything which was necessary and what was missing at that time. It's quite interesting to talk to people which knows this building from their childhood, and they really enjoy seeing these buildings on photographs, and they think, wow, I saw this when I was 18 or 20 or something like that, and most of them didn't see it for a long time anymore. But this is due to the political situation. Due to the situation after the Second World War, there was a lot of destruction amongst buildings, of course. A lot of buildings were missing, a lot of functions were missing, and in almost any countries in the world which were involved in the Second World War, they had to solve how to substitute missing buildings. The REH was a child of the GDR of East Germany. And of course, everybody knows East Germany is not existing anymore, and all the people gave that basically up. So they forgot this because actually the state doesn't exist anymore. And that's why I think it has been forgotten.
Realising how fascinated I am about the building, Matthias has put me onto 3 other people I should go and interview to find out more.
I saw it maybe 6 years ago at the rural village here in the neighborhood, and I asked the owner, and he said, "Oh, you can take it, it's only the waste." And I say, okay, we take it and bring it in the museum. And so we translocated this building into the museum.
Yeah, the strange thing was every morning and every evening when I just went from my apartment to my workshop, I passed by this building, but I never realized that it's there. It was just like a ghost. It was just hidden. It was away. When I just entered it and opened it, then that was the first time I just realized there's this huge space, yeah? And the very special thing about it, it looks bigger than it really is. You know, I mean, it only has 85 square meters, but in this structure from Prenzlauer Berg, it's one of the biggest halls and areas you have as a common space.
I saw this hall at Ostbahnhof broken. They have tried to go in, but not so much, and so on. And Jürgen, we saw it, and Jürgen said, and I had this place that was all in, that she would start to get a big place, and so, and then Jürgen, I sit here, and then Jürgen called me in the evening, Elke, I got the hall. You know this on Ostbahnhof? It's 1 mark. Ich sag, Gottes, my God. I got a shock, of course. Then I called Toni Pfeiffer, my mentor, Muse wife. And Toni, oh my God, she flipped out. So then I got this job with her to make an international market. Only 1 day a week, and find these people who are also on. I did this, and so this halls came, and the other hall, because they knew there's another one. So I told Toni, so we had 2. She loved it, yeah.
The REH, the Raumerweiterungshalle, is a very special mobile building or mobile home. You can put it together like a harmonica, and you can put it out. And so it's a very great idea to build it up, build it down, and transport it. Our REH is from 7 segments, and you can put out 2 segments or 3 or 4 or all 7. Yeah, and so you can look about your need, and so you can take the space, more or less.
Do you think that's what attracted you to the DDR thing, the simplicity?
Yes, you know, this hall made also this fascination for me in this kind of hall and this place and how it came that Jürgen saw it, and you know, this magic thing with it, that it, you know, and that was the point I loved.
When I read this and I saw the first of these buildings, I was very interested about these kind of buildings. It was a special form of mobile buildings, founded after the Second World War, of the lost spaces, bombed areas, and then it came more and more as a mobile building of shops, cafes, restaurants, and of course of intershops.
The feedback was beautiful, you know. Then one day morning I rented this flat here and didn't know, and I was in the middle page of Tagesspiegel Zeitschrift paper about culture with the hall. I still have all those papers. It's yesterday. It's yesterday. When you don't come, it's yesterday, you know, but it's a moment now. It was einmalig, we say, wir senden das. I did it, and it was also hard, also with the money. My mother was she was a very CDU-Wählerin, and she thought I'm not normal. What you want with this East stuff? And you know, they had another, and I liked it, you know, and find out, and what they throw everything away, and the good things, the books, they had so good things too, you know, and not 50 or 70 kind of chocolate. They had maybe 5, 6, 7.
When I was walking around Berlin, I realised that there's some people living in shipping containers, which seems to be a typical solution from governments to put people in shipping containers. And also people living in smaller and smaller places. Do you feel like the REH it could inspire a new generation of architects and governments to think more radically about a futuristic system of social housing?
I think the rebuilding of the RHAs with modern materials, with innovative materials, can be a solution of a lot of problems. Problems of immigrants, refugees, social housings, and other things. I only think that no one gets the idea, because it's a forgotten building. And no one has it on his screen.
When there's conflict, but they need space, they need hospitals, they need something very quick to protect wounded people, but also the people from the Red Cross or whoever it might be to operate, they still operate from tents. Could these be used, if they were made in a new way, for medical centres that could be quickly deployed? Because I've seen these REHs being moved onto ships.
Yeah, that's still a solution for military usage as well. I mean, that's original. The first usage for mobile homes in army conditions has been the hospital, of course, because in modern war lots of people got wounded, so you had to have a kind of a flexible, transportable hospital. And at the beginning there were tents, of course, so there were tent hospitals. And later on, in colder regions, you would have to protect these people, of course, from cold and diseases and so on. So you need proper houses, and also for ventilation and so on. So proper, more harder houses are a lot better in that case. And of course, there are something like the REH would be transportable very quickly by helicopters to places where you could have a settlement or where you could have a hospital which is working, which could do much more than a tent would actually help. Because if you're thinking about operations, for example, and so on, this could be done in a kind of flexible, transportable hospital, of course. And I think that's possible, and I guess this exists already by the army, but not in the shape of an REH, of course. So they have containers, what they transport nowadays, and they just screw together a couple of containers in the end. But it would be a lot more elegant that you just could extend the space like an REH is doing that.
What type of temporary accommodation does the state of Berlin usually provide refugees?
The only thing I know is they were looking for space to put them in, and there were a lot of actually temporary container solutions which are able to build really quick. But I don't know what the situation is right now. Okay. No idea.
It's about a shape and a material which is very attractive to my mind, and much nicer than a standard container building or whatever, because these are just blocks and have no shape which is attractive in any way. It's purely function, but the REH is, apart from function, it's also a nice design, of course, and functional design, of course.
As far as I know, the main uses of these buildings at the beginning, it was just a structure to get housing for construction workers. So in the late 50s, 60s, they had this problem that they had just a lot of new construction things to do in the countryside, and they started inventing these kind of not permanent housing possibilities to get a home for the construction workers during the week. And as far as I know, once they invented the structure, they discovered other possibilities to use it, because the GDR had this idea to develop the countryside. Every little village should have the structure like a little town, you know. They wanted to have like a medicine there, a kindergarten. They wanted to have a shop, gymnastic floors, just in case a school didn't have like a gym. These were sleeping areas in the countryside, and in huge camping areas for young people to have the chance to have a vacation trip on the East Sea. Huh? So this is the idea, to get a little infrastructure to the countryside. Huh?
Do you think it would be possible, the local government, say to the central government, we need you to finance the land that's bought outside Berlin, we can't do it, we haven't got enough money, or they can do it, etc., they can talk together, and we'll use the state-owned companies to build this affordable housing quickly. Could that be a possibility?
I guess this is what's happening right now. Everything, the housing companies, the state-owned, 6 companies should do that. They are the ones who have to build affordable housing.
And the only one which has been built in quite a large number in a civil version, that's the REH. And all the others, not really. There have been more prototypes and more the vision, how could future living be, and how is it like living in a spaceship or whatever. So there have been visions of the 60s and the 70s, basically. But the REH was reality, every day's reality in a socialist country.
As I dig deeper, trying to better understand the reasons behind the housing crisis in Berlin, I'm starting to wonder whether something like the Silverfish, if redesigned to today's standards, could provide an answer for emergency shelter.
And for many, many years, almost 30 years, they were living with these buildings, which is, and still some of them do live with these buildings. And that's the big exception about the REH that has been working in that amount of numbers. That's very special about that.
Right now, because of the situation we have in Berlin on the housing market, the Senate starts to talk more with Brandenburg, so the state surround Berlin. They started talking about housing projects of maybe Berlin companies outside of Berlin. So this happens right now because there's no other possibility.
It's true of big post-industrial Western cities that are diversifying. That means people are living and working in ever new ways, right? The family structures are changing, the working structures are changing. What's happening is the housing is not keeping up with that. People are living differently, they are different. They are diverse, not just international, but diverse, the way people live and want to live.
The homelessness situation is a problem that everybody knows, but we used to think about it just as a problem for poor countries, and it isn't. You see a lot of people also in Western countries that are living in tents or under the bridge. I'm really surprised about also seeing people that could have a job, but they can't afford the normal rent, and they have to live in that condition.
We're investing our energy in things like community land trusts, cooperatives, that have a good track record over years and decades of developing and maintaining affordable housing and places to work. It's a long and difficult process of connecting the left-leaning policymakers and planners with civil society activists and experts who are interested in nonprofit, non-speculative, common good approaches. It's a big challenge to get the government as well as other people on the left to see that there are things that are privately organized, more or less privately organized, but nonprofit, non-speculative, and very democratic, community-controlled. That's the frontier as I see it.
Don't you find it ironic that now, 50 years later, there's now a shortage of buildings, but the one building that was invented for the shortage of buildings is now being forgotten?
That's quite ironic, yes. It was invented for the purpose to give more space and substitute the destroyed buildings by other buildings, by the REH. And now we have a shortage of buildings again because of war. We are so many people at one place that still there's not enough space for living anymore. And also the other reason is that lots of people are moving in the moment. So we have a lot of movement within the nations and even worldwide. So people are moving from here to there. And in some parts you don't need any buildings anymore. In some other parts you need even more buildings. And that's the problem. In the moment it would be very good to have flexible and transportable buildings once again, which the people could move themselves, or they could be moved for the people, of course. And this is not happening at the moment. We have a very unflexible building strategy in the moment. So we build buildings for 100 or 200 years or even longer. But our society in the moment needs also lots of flexible buildings. I mean, in terms of energy conservation, of course, it's good that you keep buildings for a long time because they require a lot of energy for building. So if you knock them always down, it's a lot of wasted energy. But on the other hand, we need a lot of flexible building also in the moment because society is changing very fast and we have to be adapted to that, of course.
It's just a nomadic structure, huh? So you can change, yeah? So just in time you're done with your work, with your social project, whatever, you just put it together and you move, yeah? And the ex-GDR, they didn't have this money and these possibilities to build huge houses there, yeah? But they had these little tiny houses and they had the same function, yeah?
As an architect, I see the tiny house movement, of course, a little bit critically in terms of designing. Most of the projects I know, they are kind of romantic style. So what they try to do is to keep the appearance of a standard, normal, fixed house. They want to keep the aesthetics for the tiny house. So basically, it looks like a miniature villa on wheels, which I think it cannot be for modern society. So I think the REH in terms of architecture is much more advanced because if you imagine in the 50s or in the 60s or even in the 70s, this was a modern version. So it was more like having an airplane or a vehicle which is very modern at that time. So you were offering something for the future at these days already, where the tiny house is a little bit retrospective. He's having this kind of a nice atmosphere, which is actually not happening, you know, and you cannot live with one or two people near a lake and the rest of the world doesn't exist. We are a society of billions of people and we have to find also modern solutions and we cannot use solutions which are just pure romanticism and you are away from the rest of the society. I think that's, of course, the problem we have with the tiny house movement in the moment, of course.
The structure has this special thing that you have space under the ray, huh? And this is why we realize sometimes there's a fox. A fox is living under the space. So you create in the city space, you create possibilities for some animals to live here. You know, it's just like a housing. It's like a housing on two levels. You know, under my furniture shop, there's a little fox family living there, and then there's me. And on the upper level, there's often the birds coming in, you know. So this is like a tent, and as it is just a metal structure, you very often hear the birds running around you, you know. This is what makes you like this natural feeling, you know. And as a coincidence, now it's raining. I don't know if people are hearing this. So when it's raining, you just hear the rain. So it's just like a soft, smooth dripping. You feel safe, you're in your tent, but you feel it. So this is why the very special structure is that it brings you back to a natural living in the city. Huh? This is very special about the space I have very often. Huh? Yeah.
I did some research on trailer parks in America recently where they're all becoming privatized and the people's rents are going up. And then when the rent goes up, which they can't afford, they decide to leave. But the cost of moving the big transportable home
is too high.
It's so expensive they abandoned that building.
Yeah.
So if there was a way to sort of combine trailer parks with a new type of building that people do have control of their home and they can move them and they're not stuck in these sort of trailer park situations which clearly are not working in America. Do you think that's something that could be achievable and how difficult would it be?
I think it's definitely nowadays achievable that you would build something which is similar to the REH. I mean, yes, we have even better materials, we have even stronger materials, and we have even more lightweight materials to build a building like that. So it's definitely possible. I mean, the only problem is it possible to use some of these buildings? In the moment, our building regulations are not like that you just buy a transportable home and put it somewhere, because that's not possible by the building regulations, because the building regulation wants to have a standard, probably a proper building with a pitched roof and with the standard sizes we normally have. So if you would be able to buy a transportable house, it would be very, very difficult to put it somewhere because the regulations are not allowing it. So I think to make it technically, it's absolutely no problem because we have lots of better materials like carbon fiber, which is a lot stronger, a lot stiffer, a lot more lightweight. We have better timber material to build it. We have better adhesive materials. So basically, it's not a big problem to design it and build it.
Today, we have the technology to print a house, to print a building, whatever is the shape. So, where is the future? The future, which is a present for a niche of visionary people, visionary constructor and architects, technician, engineering, they are building in the factory, assembling, testing, and then transport and reassemble on site. What does it mean, or what are the consequences of this? Cost effective, safer, and many other benefits in the sense of time, money, and health.
If the market is there, if there are enough people buying this, because the industry would have been picked this up already if you could sell it like a car, if you could sell it in amounts of millions, it would be a big commercial success, of course, and then the car industry would basically build it, and not a house industry. But you don't have any possibilities to use this building in the moment.
Hello, this is Matthias Ludwig speaking. I have a nice surprise for you. I actually talked to Klaus Both, the inventor of the RMf&x. He is actually living in Schwerin, which is close to Wismar, and he is willing to give an interview. He's quite old, but he's very well, and he's willing to answer all the questions.
We're just coming. You weren't looking for me, were you? You're like, where is he?
No, I just wanted to get a...
Let's ring the bell.
Dieses Modell haben wir dann bestellt und das hat aber mein Enkel zusammengebaut.
Mm.
Das ist für mich nichts mehr. Das ist so.
Yeah. I've seen this.
Ja.
And this one?
Ja, das ist was anderes.
We did some filming. If you tell Mr. Booth, we did some filming of the three in Berlin last week. It was a beautiful sunny day, and we took the camera between the two, and it looked, when we went down, it looked like two trains going by. It was incredible. It really created that emotion, you know, that feeling.
erzählt gerade von gestern in Berlin, zwischen den 3 Raumerweiterungshallen sind die mit der Kamera durchgefahren und das hat dann so ausgesehen, als würde man sich zwischen dem Zug bewegen. Also
war an der Warschauer Straße, oder?
Warschauer Street, ja.
Rundherum, ne?
But the people walking by, they're clicking the camera, everybody's fascinated by it.
Ja. Also für mich ist logischerweise aufgrund der eigenen Formgestaltung die Arbeit mit dieser Halle am liebsten gewesen. Es hat also Spaß gemacht, nachdem der Bedarf an dieser Form so hoch war und der Betrieb dann auch wieder frei laufen konnte, richtig mit Gewinn laufen konnte durch diese Halle und die Halle wirklich den Zweck entsprach, leicht und umsetzbar. Und dann kamen die Betriebe mit Bungalows. Also wir hatten so viel auf, das spielte gar keine Rolle.
So would Mr. Booth say that with this particular building, there's more freedom as opposed to this one in terms of creative ability, freedom to deliver something that they enjoyed making, which they thought the public would like.
Mir ist überhaupt keine Stelle bekannt, wo eine negative Äußerung kam über diese Form. Also das leichte Umsetzen und das leichte Montieren war bei dieser Halle nicht mehr gegeben. So, jetzt fährt er vom Betriebsgelände runter auf die Straße. Also die waren alle von ihren Hallen begeistert. Nun schiebt er die, dann hat er ihn ja vorne in die Schnauze genommen und schiebt ihn hier auf das Fundament drauf.
Ein Elektromotor?
Nee, alles von Hand.
Das geht von Hand noch? Ja.
Alles von Hand. 6 Mann sind da drin, schieben den letzten Tunnel und ziehen den alle mit.
So 60 years later, we now have a situation where in Germany and other countries in the West there's a very big shortage of space and people think shipping containers are solutions. And when I saw this building, I thought this is a fantastic solution for this type of problem. Has he thought about this when he's looked at the news and how does he feel about that?
I'm going to ask him. Ja, jetzt eine hypothetische Frage.
Da hatte mein Vater schon die Idee und hat dem DDR-Staat damals vorgeschlagen, eine sogenannte Kreisstadt zu bauen. Nur aus Hallen, verschiedene Sachen. Verkaufsstellen, Wohnungen, alles. Im ganz großen Notfall, sage ich jetzt mal Tschernobyl in einer bewohnten Gegend, dann könnte man die Hallen nehmen und sie dahin fahren, wo sie gebraucht werden. Also solche Grundideen waren bei meinem Vater schon vorhanden. Umgesetzt wurden sie nie. Es wurde auch nicht angenommen. Also nicht, er hat es eingereicht, aber es ist nichts draus geworden. Kommt ja auch darauf an, an wen man gelangt mit seiner Idee.
In all great cities in the GDR, the buildings were there. But it's a situation of this, no one remembers about it. And all come to the museum, see the Raumerweiterungshalle, the REH, they say, yes! It was at the Baltic Sea, or I saw it in Berlin, or I saw it at the motorway to Berlin as an intershop, or only when they see the building and see the interior, they remember and say, yes, there was the building. I know, now I remember. But in the normal life, they don't remember it. It is, I always say it's a forgotten building or a lost space.
We can say that in past decades, revolutions or uprisings were due to the high cost of food because people were hungry. What's emerging now is revolt, unhappiness, demonstrations. We're not close to a revolution yet, but people are unhappy about their housing situation. Not just unhappy, but it's a crisis situation. And it's true that it's impacting young people the most. So younger generations are coming along. They can't afford a place to live. They can't They can't afford a decent place to live. They can't afford an appropriate place to live. They can't afford to live where they want to live or need to live because of work. They can't afford to live with the people they want to live with. They can't afford to move. People are basically forced to work a lot more to pay their rent. So this is a pressure on people and on the society.
I think it's a kind of a huge, it's a form of coincidence of, I don't know, of the architectural construction history, because it has been created by engineers. So these were not architects and no artists. These were like technical educated people who having this idea of the form. And they were able to do something that reminds me, I don't know, like some spiritual spaces, like Roman churches. I don't know if you just see the Roman church form. If you see this one, this is also the form has been created by engineering. So by thinking about the simple physics of space, you know, this is something I liked a lot about the space. And I love that it has been invented by a limited amount of material, craftsmanship and possibilities. So the limitation of these things in the XGDR forced them to do something very special. Huh? This is why I just love it.
I have a lot of talks about that with friends, and I always captured in my position as an urban planner, because they're all angry and have no hope. And I always say that some years ago it was even worse. The political situation right now is better. This is what I see in my daily work. Actually, but that doesn't help the people. They have right now have no hope, and they see that there's no way that can be better right now. And you see in the newspaper, you always see the numbers, and the prices are getting higher and higher and higher. It's difficult, even for me. I have the hope that it's somewhere that it has to stop. It cannot always be more expensive and more expensive, but right now, it's difficult, I think.
Hello, this is Matthias Ludwig speaking. Hello, Rory. I have quite a sad message for you. Actually, Klaus Both died on the 19th of September. I just talked to his wife and to his daughter, and they told me that he actually passed away. I'm quite shocked about that. I just wanted to pass you that message.
When I first heard the news that Klaus Both had died, it somehow felt like a forgotten hero had passed away, and I was wondering whether his father's ideas for emergency housing would be forgotten for good. Apart from the pressures on the domestic housing market in Berlin and other major cities, we also live in a world where wars and other natural disasters leave around 20 million people suddenly homeless each year, and I can't help but think a modernized Silverfish would be a perfect solution for these displaced people.
Geht doch da nicht hin und sagt, Mensch, was ich vor mir. Also, mach ich nicht.
really special thing what we should talk about in Berlin is that all those rules for the state-owned housing companies, they came from a movement which said we have to have more stricter rules for that part of the housing sector the government can control. We have to control it.
Sometimes I miss the 68 flower power situation, because at that time people were active and they did protests for their rights, and they were fighting for things, and they gained a lot of things, of course. And I'm missing that nowadays. Everything is so quiet, and but not everything is working. That's the point. And we have to make things working. There are lots of problems in the moment which have to be solved, of course.
We always had this in German history for the last 100 years. People always forgot their past.
A lot of people don't take any risks anymore in the moment, but I think it's very much important. If you want to solve problems, or if you want to have ideas, or if you want to move on to somewhere, you have to take risks, otherwise it's not working. Especially if things are not very stable, then the risks are getting bigger and bigger, of course. Yeah, but to be somewhere in a retreat and then just watch it with remote control or whatever, it's not working. I mean, you have to be involved in a situation, and you have to be active, of course. And that's why we should solve actively our living problem and our housing problem also, of course. And we cannot give everything to people which we think that it could solve these problems, some specialists.
There are right now hundreds of millions of people living in a situation that lacks of basic needs, and when it comes to think about a solution for that, you have to find it in on-site base, because you just can't move millions of people away from their home.
All over our planet there are problems with space, with areas around great cities.
We really have to find an alternative way to bring people back together.
When we see the history and don't learn about the history, then there is no innovation.
My conclusion at the end of filming is that even if something like the Silverfish existed today, most people I spoke to in Berlin would still rather live in the city and fight for a fairer system. They also want to be close to their work, friends, family, and the city's vibrancy. So the idea of the Silverfish as a solution to solving Berlin's housing crisis seems unlikely. But perhaps a new type, one built from modern materials which is compliant with the safety regulations of today, could be an ideal solution for emergency accommodation on the outskirts of Berlin for its future. As I think about the building and how it could be redesigned, I imagine the millions of people living in countries displaced by wars and other natural disasters. And it makes me think that the missing key to reviving this forgotten building could be as simple as providing a central utility hub, one which would allow multiple new Silverfish to connect and share facilities, enabling people to come and go as they please. These could also be assembled quickly on borders between countries, allowing people fleeing from war the temporary homes and safety they need. Taking a look at the building for the last time, I think about its past and the people that made it possible, the thousands that were built and used in everyday life. I think about its ingenious design that's now been forgotten, and I can't help but think that it's the past success of these buildings that reflect the importance of dignity and community, two vital principles that need to be the driving force when it comes to providing affordable accommodation and emergency shelter for everybody.